Let's get more insight on this story. Global Affairs Analyst Collins Nweke joins me from Belgium he joins me virtually. Good to have you join us.
Thank you. Thank you, Precious, for having me.
All right, so let's look at in 2017 when President Macron first took power. His centrist camp was able to bring in about 350 seats, more than the 280 needed to govern in Parliament. But that is now down to about 245 seats. How do you explain what exactly happened? The fact that the ensemble, which is his party, have now lost about 100 seats.
Well, I believe that the French people saw a bit of arrogance in the then 39-year-old political maverick, who swept power in a most surprising, most unconventional way. Let's recall that it was in 2016 that Emmanuel Macron actually established his party. Just to give our viewers in Africa, in Nigeria, a sense of what we're talking about, it is like establishing a new party right now to take part, to participate in the election of 2023 and to go for the presidency. He had no structure, completely new political party and all of that. But the French people listened to him because, they thought he brought a breath of fresh air, and he went ahead to win that election in 2017. Now, not just winning, he actually won an absolute majority. So which meant that, he had all the powers in his hand and he doesn't need to consult anybody or listen to any opposition at all to be able to pass his legislations. And so, to a very large extent, that was the way and manner in which he governed. And so that created for him a whole lot of enemies. And now he's back to them in, 2022, seeking re-election. Now, he won the election as president, but then the parliamentary election is a different kettle of fish. And like you rightly pointed out, he has lost 100 seats, 44 seats short of the majority he needs to be able to govern. So that is the dilemma that he faces right now.
And let's talk about that dilemma, because I listened to a statement coming from the economy minister, Bruno Le Maire, where he said that this whole situation doesn't mean that France is ungovernable. But how do you govern, or how can he govern without a majority in parliament?
It is difficult, but perfectly possible and doable. And the reason is because you have, a set of political figures out there that actually understand the concept of statehood, that actually understand what it means to be patriotic. So essentially, they will do everything they can to ensure that the government doesn't suffer. That's one. And then secondly, of course, you need to understand that, laws, legislations are not made and policies change overnight. No. These things take a life of their own and spanning a long period of time. So the things that are being established now would have been passed, say, a year or two ago. Some also are actually embedded in the Constitution. So they have a very strong root in the Constitution that you just can't, change them overnight. But I think the most important thing, however, and that is where all political figures are the same everywhere in the world, is that the opposition or his rivals are actually thinking already of the next election. So they want to act responsibly, because not doing so would mean that, the electorate, the French electorate, will actually punish them in the next election. So that will make them to be reasonable in their negotiations and not seen to be unreasonable, which will actually, invite the punishment of the electorate. So yes, France is not going to be ungovernable. But political life is going to be very, very difficult for Macron, because he would have to find a way or two to water down his policies and accommodate the wishes, the political wishes of his rivals, if he's going to be able to make any headway and stay in office.
And there are concerns as to whether he's going to become a lame duck president. But let's look at the fact that he's seen as the leader of a newly reinvigorated Europe. If he's so weakened at home, how does that play out for him globally?
Emmanuel Macron appears to be doing pretty well globally. Within Europe, he's a force to be reckoned with. His kind of politics appear to be the one that Europe actually needs now. He realizes that, and he's playing very, very deeply into it. I mean, take Ukraine, for example, and the role he's playing. The fact that he continues to talk with, Russian president, notwithstanding the barrage of, attacks and criticisms that come as a result. So yes, he is strong in Europe, but weak at home, at least for now. Whether that is going to affect his international standing, particularly within the European Union, is something that we have to assume the wait and see attitude. But, if you put a gun to my head and, ask me to take a position either way, I'm going to tell you that, it's not going to necessarily, drive him off course, but he has a whole battle in his hands, a domestic battle, and one will see a bit of a retreat in international matters to enable him handle the issues at home, but not to a significant extent.
Well, the good thing is that I do not own a gun, so I don't have a gun to put to your head. Thank you so much for talking to us, Collins Nweke, Global Affairs Analyst.
Thank you for having me, Precious.